And I'm a doctorate student at Liberty University, and I thank you guys for coming here today. We have a 30-minute lesson we're going to do on end rights forgiveness therapy with the CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Developed by Beck in 1964. In its simplest form, the cognitive model hypothesizes that people's emotions and behaviors are influenced by their perceptions of events. There are 3 levels of cognition. Number 1, core beliefs. Number 2, dysfunctional assumptions. And number 3, negative automatic thoughts. The core values are core beliefs or schemas, are deeply held beliefs about self, others, and the world. Core beliefs are generally learned early in life and are influenced by childhood experiences and seen as absolute. The cognitive triad of negative core beliefs are, number 1, the self. People are used to saying, I'm useless. That's a negative influence. Number 2, the world. We look at the world and say, the world is unfair. Number 3, the future. We look at things or look at certain situations and circumstances and say, things will never work out for me. Those are core beliefs that most people have held so long deeply inside of them that it doesn't allow them to move on and be functional in life. ANT, automatic negative thoughts. Negative automated thoughts, NATS, are thoughts that are involuntarily activated in certain situations. In CBT, the cognitive model is used as a framework in which to understand a person's mental distress. Their cognition involves perceiving, your reasoning, your judging, learning, evaluating, or remembering. If you put all those together and you use ANT, automatic negative thoughts, a lot of times you get a negative thought to come in there and then your perception of everything changes. You remember all these bad things that happened before. You start to judge what's going to happen next. You never can really push to the future because those automatic negative thoughts are always taking you to the back, taking you right to that path. The process of placing an individual's idiosyncratic experiences within a cognitive behavioral framework is known as formulation. A formulation is a hypothesis about the causes, precipitants, and maintaining influences of a person's problems. Now, you see our triangle there? This is our cognitive behavioral therapy triangle. You see at the top it's thought, then it's emotion and behavior, and then they just keep going in that triangle. Keep going in that triangle. The formulation is intended to make sense of the individual's experience and aid the mutual understanding of the individual's difficulties. CBT ultimately aims to teach patients to be their own therapists by helping them to understand their current ways of thinking and behaving, and by equipping them with the tools to change maladaptive cognitive and behavioral patterns. Remember this for later on in the lesson. Remember, CBT ultimately aims to teach patients to be their own therapists. We're just helping them. We're just helping to guide them. We're not going to be their fix-it-all. We're just going to help them find the right tools in their toolbox to be able to fix it. The focus of CBT is problem-oriented with an emphasis on the present. It looks for ways to improve a patient's current state of mind. CBT involves mutually agreed goal setting. Goals should be SMART, that's the acronym. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time limited. So when you're talking to a client and making a plan for this client, you want to be specific. You want to have a measurable outcome of how they're doing. You want to have things that are achievable for them. You don't want to have them try to reach the moon. You want achievable things, and you want to be realistic. Nothing's going to change overnight. So let's be realistic, and let's be time limited. Give your client a certain time frame to have these things accomplished. Thought records are used to make a patient aware of their NATs. Remember, negative, automatic thoughts. Distinguish thoughts from facts and see how they impact upon their mood. They encourage the consideration of alternate thoughts and the resulting change in emotion. So when you're talking to your client and you're making the client understand, this is what you think, but this is what really is. That will help them to be able to start looking at their circumstance in a different light. And then being able to see things differently means they can change their emotion. A key cognitive concept in CBT is guided discovery. What is guided discovery? This is a therapeutic stance which involves trying to understand the patient's view of things and help them expand their thinking to become aware of their underlying assumptions and discover alternate perspectives and solutions for themselves. So it's like we said with the last slide. You're helping them to find what's in their toolbox and say, hey, you know what? You can use this tool. You have this.
A person who can forgive nothing is a person who's totally destroyed psychologically and emotionally. Forgive your parents. Forgive any relationship that you ever had that didn't work out. Forgive everyone else in your life that has ever hurt you in any way. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself.
When you feel that you are stuck in some situation, or when your affirmations are not working, it usually means there is some more forgiving to be done. Forgiveness of yourself and of others will release you from the prison of the past. Thoughts of bitterness cannot create joy. No matter how justified you feel you are, no matter what they did, if you insist on holding on to the past, then you will never be free. Forgiveness is a tricky and confusing concept for many people. There is a difference between forgiveness and acceptance. Forgiving someone does not mean that you condone their behavior. It really has nothing to do with the other person. The reality of true forgiveness lies in setting ourselves free from holding on to the pain. When you do not flow freely with life in the present moment, it usually means you are holding on to a past moment. Only in the present moment can you create your future. If you are holding on to the past, you cannot be in the present. It is only in this now moment that your thoughts and words are powerful. So you really don't want to waste your current thoughts to continue to create your future from the garbage of the past. When you blame another, you give your own power away because you are placing the responsibility for your feelings on someone else. People in our lives may behave in ways that trigger uncomfortable responses in us. However, they did not get into our minds and create the buttons that have been pushed. Taking responsibility for our own feelings and reactions is mastering our ability to respond. In other words, we learn to consciously choose rather than simply react.
The person you were in the past is a different person than you are today. The person you are today wouldn't do those things because you now have wisdom, you have hindsight, you have intelligence, you understand consequences. So the person you are today is a different person from the person you were back then. So don't keep beating yourself up because that other person, another person, did something that today you disapprove of. All right? Just let yourself go. Let yourself off the hook. And when you let it all go, it's almost like a huge burden off your back. You just forgive everybody and you forgive everything, and on a go-forward basis, you just forgive everybody. You don't have any negativities at all. No negativity toward anybody. You're just a positive person. And if you'll do that, if you accept responsibility, like yourself, and forgive everyone else, you become a truly superior person. Most amazing darn thing.
Well, did we enjoy the video?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Some very interesting things in that video, wasn't it?
It
was very interesting. So now, remember all the stuff that we talked about CBT, and if looking at the video, you see there were some people that were really emotional in that video. And they had some real issues with perceiving having not forgiveness in their heart, and they were struggling. But just think, if we can be free, and you can help your client to be free from having those feelings of unforgiveness, having those feelings of being stuck because they can't move on. That's helping them to get to real wellness. Yes?
Yep.
Yes, it is. So now let's go back to the PowerPoint. We're going to share some points about Enright's forgiveness therapy. And then we're going to go on to our making up a plan, a mock plan for a client using CBT and the key points you're going to get from the forgiveness therapy. So first thing, let's talk about what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not forgetting. You are not asking the client to forget what has happened to them. Because no one can forget. We have a memory. We can't forget, but we can move past. We're not ignoring what has happened. We're not denying what has happened. We're not asking them to forget, ignore, deny, or even overlook what has happened. We're asking them to say, you know what? This happened. It is what it is, but I'm going to have to make a conscious decision. So, Enright has 4 phases of forgiveness. The first phase of unforgiveness is uncovering. And what does that mean? That means clarifying the nature of the offense and how it has compromised one's life. Let me say it again. Clarifying the nature of the offense and how it has compromised your client's life. Number 2 is our decision phase. Decision phase means we gain an accurate understanding of the nature of forgiveness, and we make a decision to commit to forgiving on the basis of this understanding. So what we're saying here is we're asking the client to make a decision, a conscious decision to say, I choose to forgive them. I choose to forgive myself. And the work phase. What is the work phase? Gain a cognitive understanding of the offender and begins to view the offender in a new light, resulting in positive change in effect about the offender, about the self, and about the relationship. So what we're saying is you're beginning to work through how, you see where it says gains a cognitive understanding. This is where our CBT comes in, cognitive behavioral therapy. You're going to try to help them to adjust those automatic negative thoughts. And they're not going to use those automatic negative thoughts again. They're going to try to work to change those thoughts. Everybody clear? We're all good? And the next one is the deepening phase. One may discover that in the process of forgiving, one finds release from the emotional prison of unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, and anger as one's ability to forgive deepens. So once you start to forgive and have your client start to forgive, they're being released from their emotional prison, like we've seen on the video. They're being released. They're being let go. Like the one picture in the video where he was in the shower and the water was just running down. You just let that water go down the drain. You let those automatic negative thoughts just go down the drain. You just let them wash away so that you can be free. Your client can be free. And then a short-term goal of cognitive behavioral therapy is a psychotherapy treatment that takes a hands-on practical approach to problem solving. So that's, in short, what cognitive behavioral therapy is. A short-term goal-oriented psychotherapy treatment that takes a hands-on practical approach to problem solving. So it's something you have to work. It's something you have to, it's just not going to sit there. You have to actually do something with it. You have to change your mind, change your thoughts, change your actions. A plan. Now this is where our exercise is going to come in. A plan of cognitive behavioral therapy. Clients attend one session per week, each session lasting approximately 50 minutes. During this time, the client and the therapist are to work together to understand what the problems are and develop new strategies for tackling them. And now what I'm going to ask you to do is to take this piece of paper. This is our worksheet. Excuse me. Thank you. This is our worksheet. And you're going to make up your fictitious client. And based on what we just learned about cognitive behavioral therapy and forgiveness therapy, create a plan. It doesn't have to be a detailed plan. Just come up with some things on the top of your head. It'll take about 3 minutes to write that plan. And yes.
A plan on how to get rid of the negative thoughts?
Yeah, how you would propose to help a client.
Through negative?
Yes, to helping them. Yes, through changing your mind.
Okay.
Like what could they do?
Okay.
You know, perhaps they could journal.
Okay.
And cancel and say, this is, remember, they may have a thought, but we're going to tell them what the fact is.
The fact is.
Their thought could be something totally different. And the fact could be,
Exactly.
yes.
It helps free them.
Yes. So you're going to take the time to do that, and then we'll have a discussion about it. And you'll give me your fictitious patient and how you would help them. Take about 3 or 4 minutes for that. If you have any questions, please let me know. In your assignment, make sure you tell me one of the things that they are having trouble forgetting. It could be themselves, it could be a cheating spouse, it could be their parent, it could be any of those things. So as you do that, how you would make up a plan based on a 1 session per week and how they can do it and how you and your client could work together on this. Okay, we'll take about 2 more minutes. About 1 more minute. And if you haven't finished writing, you can just, tell me. We can discuss what you started writing, and you can finish telling me what you wanted to write if you don't have everything down. All right, is there anyone who'd like to start? Yes.
So my fictitious client has a real issue with like her family and her parents.
Okay.
And like different childhood situations she's been through, different family members have done things to her. So
can you be specific about one of those things?
Abandonment from her parents.
Okay.
If it was her in that situation, could she be capable of doing that?
Okay.
Or her mom, maybe it was something going on in her mom's life that had her abandon her.
But first you want to make sure you stay focused on her, and then you want her to understand that, no matter what they did, if you're freeing yourself.
Right.
Yes, you're freeing yourself.
But the forgiveness process, I feel like basically a person would say, why did they do that to me? What did I do?
Right.
And to bring the attention not on the person who did it, but to kind of make her understand that, yes, they did it, but you were innocent because something might have happened to them, which hurt people.
Right.
So,
you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Max, let's hear what your plan is.
Okay, my specific plan, well, with my client, I have a client that was facing unforgiveness basically because their father was not in their life.
Okay.
So they faced unforgiveness towards their father. So my process was, number one, to help them realize that every thought is not factual. So
Yes.
actually what she may be thinking, she's the reason why her father wasn't in her life, it may not be it at all. There could be some other things that affected him, and her mother is why he wasn't around. Part two I had was to have her log how often she's affected by the aunt, and what aunt specifically affect the emotions for her. So to get down to what thought specifically drives you, what thought is it that specifically gives you these negative emotions that you have that could be causing anxiety, that could be causing other things that you're facing.
Yeah.
The third step was to make a decision to forgive her dad for to help her heal that aunt. So she fully forgives her dad, when that automatic negative thought comes, that typically drives her, it may not be as effective as it was before she forgiven her father.
Yeah.
And the last step, if possible, to communicate with her father to
Well,
truly show that she's forgiven.
That's good. Do we all agree?
Yes.
That's good. And Lauren?
Okay, so my client is a client that has issues with forgiving herself. So she's made a lot of bad decisions when it comes to relationships, her work life, her school life, just things in life in general. So starting off with my session, I would have the client sit down and just go over with them why they can't forgive themselves or what exactly happened in their life for them to carry this unforgiveness.
Right, again, the uncovering phase.
Yes. So then the second phase that I would do is at the end of the first session, I would give them a journal. So when they come back the second session, I'll have the client go over the journal and break down like if there are any patterns in what they write. Because when we look at the pattern, you can understand specifically what it is that really bothers them, or it may be a trigger point for them.
Now, would that be your decision session?
No.
Okay, that is still your uncovering.
Yes, that's still my uncovering.
Okay.
Now, when I get to the decision part, I would have them do a vision board.
Okay.
So when it comes to doing a vision board, if you see it, then that helps you go through the steps in order to forgive.
Yes.
Because I think
Moving to the working phase.
yeah, so it takes time to work through forgiveness, but
Yes.
if you see it every day and it's something that you work on every day, then eventually you'll get to the phase where you can actually forgive and you can move in that forgiveness.
Right, because everybody's not going to go at the same pace.
Right. So,
And what's your deepening phase?
so the deepening phase,
Where they begin to look at the individual and forgive them and have empathy for the individual.
yeah. So but in this case, the individual will be them.
Yes.
So you have to begin to understand that I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
And I do, everybody makes mistakes sometimes, or everybody makes decisions that's not necessarily a good decision,
Right.
but you don't stay in that place. You move past that place.
Exactly. I think those are some really good plans. Definitely a starting point to what we've seen today. Of course, you can't learn everything in 30 minutes, but that's a great starting point to be able to help your client be on that road of changing their mindset through CBT, getting a new thought process, and you as counselors helping them to get that thought process, and then, helping them to understand I am in control of me. I'm not going to have somebody else do the work. I'm doing the work. They're doing the work themselves. You're just assisting them. Remember, you're just helping to guide them through that discovery, of what's there, making the decision to change, and then saying, all right, you're going to help them work through this. Let's get down and dirty and let's go in and work through it, and then get into that deepening phase so we can hold on to what we've learned, hold on to that forgiveness.
Exactly.